Explore the world beyond the screen. Stories untold, adventures unseen. Join the quest, come build a thrill. Welcome to Omi's Rare Guild.
Welcome, adventurers, and welcome to the first episode of the Anime Explorers Guild. Okay, this is going to be a guild for exploring new anime worlds. Okay, I always wanted a guild. No one wants to form a guild with me. I'm making my own. Let's go. So every week on this podcast, we'll set out on a new expedition through the worlds of anime. We'll break down the stories, the characters, the themes, and the creators who, bring all these worlds to life. We're talking the animators, we're talking the directors, the actors, whoever I feel like talking about, that's what we're going to deal with, all right? Think of this show as a kind of guild hall for anime fans, right? A place where we gather to talk about incredible stories, discover new series, and dive deeper into anime we love and find new ones. At the end of the video or on the YouTube or whatever, I'll post that Discord link. You can join the Discord. It's a Discord I use for everything, Twitch streaming, all that stuff. So just jump and we can talk about anime. Or leave your comments in the YouTube or the Spotify or wherever this ends up. I don't know. It's a new project. I'm going to do it. We'll see what happens. All right. So for our very first expedition, we're starting with something incredibly special to me. It's one of my favorites. We are going to explore what I think is one of the greatest adventure stories ever created. The One Piece. One Piece. All right. I think it's amazing. Don't argue with me. This is a story that has spanned more than 2 decades. It began as a manga created by Ichiro Oda and became one of the longest running anime series in history, thanks to the Toei animation, right? And recently it got expanded to the Netflix live action series, and season 2 is out now. I haven't seen it yet. By the time this is probably edited and published, I probably would have binge watched it. We'll see. Okay. Um, but more than just its longevity, what makes One Piece like really special is the world that it builds and all the themes that it explores, right? Especially in today's world. We're talking about freedom, we're talking about dreams, friendship, rebellion against injustice, and the idea that no matter who you are or where you come from, chase your dreams, right? Like that's what this anime is all about. It's just about chasing your dreams and never stopping chasing them. Okay? So today's expedition, we'll explore the history of One Piece, the world of pirates and adventure that Oda created, the themes that make this story resonate with millions of fans, and how the anime, manga, and Netflix adaptation each bring this world to life. Okay? So grab your map, raise the sails, and get ready. Because today, we're going to set sail for the Grand Line. Okay. The beginning. The beginning of One Piece. To understand why One Piece becomes such a global phenomenon, we need to go back to the beginning. The story of One Piece, I think it started around 1997, right? And it started in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine. And at the time, Oda was still super young, and he just wanted to create the ultimate adventure story, right? He was working as an assistant for another artist at the time, and he had already been developing his ideas for pirate stories for years. He loved the pirate mythology, all these adventure novels and stories about exploring unknown worlds, but he wanted to create something that wasn't just another regular pirate story, right? He wanted to create a world that was so big and imaginative that readers could feel like they were going on an adventure with the characters, right? And that's exactly what happened. More than 25 years later, One Piece has become one of the best-selling manga series in history. Right, hundreds of millions of copies have been sold worldwide, and the story is still ongoing. For those of you who don't know, let's talk about what the story is about, though, right? Because at its core, One Piece follows a young pirate. If you don't know, Monkey D. Luffy, and he dreams of becoming the king of the pirates. But in the world of the One Piece, the title doesn't simply mean being the strongest pirate, right? It means being the most free person of the world. Like that's what searching for the One Piece really represents. Now, the Great Pirate Era. This whole story begins with the execution of legendary pirate Goldie Roger. Roger was known as the Pirate King, and he took the seas, discovered ultimate treasure, and he is the original person who found the One Piece. Before his execution, though, Roger declares that he has left all his treasure somewhere in the world. And with that one announcement, he changed history at the time. Suddenly, pirates across the globe set sail in search of the legendary treasure. This moment sparked what has become known as the Great Pirate Era. Adventurers, criminals, explorers, dreamers, everyone set out to find the One Piece. It was like that goalpost that all of these people were aiming for. If they wanted power, if they wanted to be free, if they wanted riches, everyone was aiming for the One Piece. And in all that mess was this one kid who was idolizing pirates, my boy Luffy. Now, Luffy had a dream of freedom, right? So what makes Luffy such a unique protagonist at the time is how super simple his motivation is, right? He just wants to become Pirate King. Not because he wants any power, not because he wants wealth, and not because he wants fame. Luffy believes that the Pirate King is simply the person who is the most free. Freedom for him is one of the most important themes in One Piece, right? Luffy rejects authority when it's unjust. He fights against oppression and he protects people who cannot protect himself. He doesn't ever follow any super complicated ideologies, right? He is who he is and he wants to be free. He wants everyone else to be free, safe, and happy. So his biggest motivator is that he just believes that people deserve to live freely. And that belief drives almost every major conflict that's in the story. Okay? Now you can't be a pirate without a crew. So Luffy, pirate captain, he has a crew, the Straw Hat crew. No one person becomes a legendary pirate alone. So one of the most beloved aspects of One Piece is his crew, right? The Straw Hat Pirates. Each member of the crew has their own dream, their own backstory, and their own reason for joining the adventure. For example, Zoro, Roronoa Zoro. He's a swordsman who dreams of becoming the greatest swordsman in the world. Then we have Nami, that she's a cruise navigator, and her childhood was a mess. When you watch it, you'll see her childhood was a mess, and it shaped who she became. And she had a lot of back history with pirates and tragedy and death and stuff like that. Then we have Usopp, who is a storyteller, a liar, if you will, but a storyteller in reality, a amazing sniper, just like his father. And his dream is always to become a brave warrior, right? He never really knew his father, but his father was a pirate, a brave pirate, and that's what he wants to be. He wants to become a brave warrior of the sea. Then we have Sanji, the cruise cook, who he is searching for this legendary part of the ocean called the All Blue, because as a cook, he wants to cook with all these spices and all these exotic fish and stuff like that. And the All Blue, I think, if I remember correctly, it's the place where all four seas meet. And in that area is supposed to have like legendary fish and spices and stuff like that. And he wants to find that. And then later we get Tony Chopper. So Tony Chopper is Chopper is a doctor who happens to be a reindeer. He ate some one of the devil fruit. And then we have Nico Robin, who is an archaeologist searching for lost history. Again, bunch of tragic backstories. Please watch it. Amazing backstories. They all have really great backstories. Nico Robin is my favorite. And each of these backstories are deeply emotional, and we get to see that part of them. Okay. And one of the most powerful ideas in One Piece is that these characters support each other's dreams. They don't compete with each other. They fight for each other. They protect each other. And over time, like they become a found family, right? And that's important for a lot of these characters who did not necessarily grow up in families that were there or allowed them to, be loved and stuff like that. So having this newfound family is an important thing for this crew. Okay. So we have the world government and real world themes. Okay. Let's talk about the world government and real world themes, because a lot of people say anime is just cartoons, blah, 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 blah. It's not, right? There's a lot of connection about the real world themes, and a lot of these authors and writers, but they take things from the real world and put it into their animes in a way that's palatable and digestible to us, but it connects, right? So Luffy and the Straw Hats, right? As the story progresses, the Straw Hats encounter this massive political force known as the world government. And the world government controls the seas through a military force known as the Marines. On the surface, they claim to maintain order. But as the story keeps going, we learn that they also control information. Sound familiar? They hide parts of history and enforce systems of power that benefit the ruling elite. Look around. And this introduces one of the most fascinating aspects of One Piece, at least to me. It's not just an adventure story, right? It's also a story about power and history. There are arcs in the series that explore topics like discrimination, colonialism, propaganda, political corruption. For example, the Fishman Island arc deals heavily with prejudice and racial conflict between humans and fishmen, which can be relatable, right? Other arcs explore how governments rewrite history to maintain control. And these ideas mirror real world history in many, many, many ways, right? Um, there are arcs in the series that explore how empires move throughout history, how they have controlled the narratives about the past. We talk about hidden truths, destroyed records, and how history is being shaped in ways that protects the power of the empire and not necessarily tells the truth or worked for the people, the vast majority, right? It protects those in power. It's a lot of what we're seeing in today's day and age as well. Right? One Piece takes these ideas and weaves it into this fantastical pirate adventure. And the result is this story that feels surprisingly relevant in the world we're living in right now. Something to think about, right? The anime adaptation. So in 1999, the manga was adapted into the anime by Toei Animation, right? The anime version of One Piece has now aired for more than 2 decades and includes over 1,000 episodes. The anime helped introduce the story to a global audience. It brought the characters to life with voice acting and music and animation. Some of the emotional moments in the anime have become iconic among true fans. When we're thinking about emotional moments, we're thinking about that episode with Nico Robin when she's screaming, "I want to live!" Or the episode with Nami where Luffy puts his hat on her head and she's like, "Luffy, help me." Like things like that, right? These are iconic moments that we all remember and think about. These scenes of sacrifice, loyalty, heartbreak that have left us crying, cheering, and celebrating alongside these characters. Okay. The anime also expands on the world building of the manga itself, and we get to see more of the islands, the cultures, and the strange creatures that inhabit this vast world. And whereas the manga is limited to what can be done on the page, the anime allows a lot more of a visual buffet for the audience, right? It allows us to really have that visual that sometimes can be missing in the manga. Um, and then that leads us to the Netflix adaptation. Now, super surprising, and a lot of the times I'm skeptical about live action adaptations because, some of them are great, some of them are not. We won't talk about The Last Airbender. But, 2023, Netflix said, "Hey, we finna do this." So 2023, I think it's 2023, Netflix released season 1 of the live action One Piece. Now, historically, this has not always been successful. In my opinion, this time it was different, right? Because, and I think one of the important factors about why this was different was because Oda was, in fact, he was involved in the production directly, right? And having him involved in it makes a big difference, right? Because if the person writing it is involved in it, then you tend to stay a little true to the story and the essence of the story, as opposed if they just gave it over to somebody else's creative vision, right? So because Oda worked closely with the production team to ensure that the series stayed true to the spirit of the original story, we get a live action that was able to hold a candle to what we were seeing in the anime. Okay. The show, it has Inaki Godoy as Luffy, and it just, that first season adapted the early arc of the series, right? So you got a lot into that first season. And what made the live action version work so well is that it didn't really try to make the Oda One Piece overly realistic. It embraced that creativity, that humor, and that strange world that makes that original story really special. And then the result was a live action adaptation that I think the fans really enjoyed, right? Fans and newcomers enjoyed. And the live action, being able to compress the amount of episodes into that first season, also gave newcomers a easy into the series. If they didn't want to, a lot of the complaints you hear, people don't want to deal with the 1,000 episodes it takes to catch up. But the live action did give a easy way to really dive into the series that way, right? Because it was able to compress a lot of what the anime does. And it's been so long. It's been running for so long. We have to ask that question: why One Piece endures? So after more than 2 decades, why does One Piece still resonate with so many people? And part of that answer is the world building. For me, I think part of the answer is the world building, right? Oda has created one of the most expansive fictional works ever seen in manga. Every island has its own culture, every arc introduces new characters, and the mysteries of the world, they just unfold slowly over time. But the deeper reason are the themes. It There's a constant reminder in One Piece that our dreams matter, right? Our dreams are important, to never give up on our dreams, and that friendship matters. Standing up for injustice matters. And then no matter how powerful the systems around us may seem, individuals still have power to change the world. And I think for many of us, especially in the world we're living right now, those little reminders, especially for the fans, the true fans who, watch this, read this, interact with this series, those reminders are imperative to how we navigate the world, you know? So for me, and again, this whole thing is just my opinion. I give you some facts, but I'm telling you what I feel about the anime. And guild members, if you've never experienced One Piece, I think that this is one of the greatest anime journeys you can take. Whether you start with the manga, the anime, or the Netflix adaptation, you're stepping into a story that has inspired millions of fans around the world. And if you're already a fan like me, then you know exactly why the story means so much. Give it a try, right? There is nothing to lose and everything to gain. One Piece is one of those stories that will resonate and continues to resonate throughout the years, because the themes never change, right? The story builds, the story grows, the world changes, the world grows, but those themes are enduring and they will never change, no matter how much people change, no matter how much the time changes, those themes stay consistent. All right. So that concludes our first expedition here on Anime Explorer Guild. And if you enjoyed this journey, follow the show so that you never miss our next adventure. Next week we'll explore another anime and dive into the story, themes, and creators. Until next time, adventures, keep exploring and never stop chasing your dreams. Luffy said it best: never stop chasing your dreams.
Clicking, cross that line, past the glare, past the timeline. Hidden tabs, secret signs, every frame is a doorway. Pixel dust in your hair, snack crumbs all on the new chair. Skip recap, you're already there. Heart racing like an OP. Explore the world beyond the screen. Stories untold in every scene. Adventures waiting, wild and clean. Join the quest, come feel the thrill. Welcome to MMA Explorer Guild. Hey! MMA Explorer Guild. Side quest in the sidebar, fan art on the old jar, ship names on a note card, scrawled like sacred runes. Night train in your headphones, sublines on a cracked phone. Laugh loud, you're not alone. We're all logging in too soon. Explore the world beyond the screen. Stories untold in every scene. Adventures waiting, wild and clean. Join the quest, come feel the thrill. Welcome to MMA Explorer Guild. Hey! MMA Explorer Guild. Scroll, tap, level up. Find your people in the comments. Hold, chat, armor up. Every nickname is a banner. Explore the worlds beyond the screen. Stories untold in every scene. Adventures waiting.